Welcome to GoVMlab, India's first job-ready VMware learning platform where professionals meet experts to revolutionize their VMware careers.
Hello everyone, welcome to GoVMlab, VMware Cloud on AWS, Deploy and Manage lecture series. In previous lecture, we talked about configuring policy-based VPN, whereas in this particular lab exercise, we will walk you through step-by-step procedure of configuring route-based VPN in VMC SDDC. Route-based VPN uses something called VTI interfaces, virtual tunnel interfaces, to establish dynamic IPsec tunnel between on-prem and VMC data centers. Unlike subnet pairs, what we have to define in policy-based VPN, in the route-based VPN, all the decision making or the traffic decision making happens using the route tables, and that is the exact reason route-based VPN is the most recommended hybrid cloud approach in today's modern data center, which uses BGP dynamic routing, high availability, and scalability. And that's where the route-based VPN is the most recommended approach to configure hybrid cloud connectivity in your modern data centers. So with that, let's get started. So click here to start. Now this is our VMware Cloud on AWS service portal. So click on VMware Cloud on AWS service. Now here we have a SDDC created named as SDDC-1. Click on view details. Click on networking and security and click on VPN, because we are talking about configuring route-based VPN, and that is where we'll go to the VPN section under networking. And as you could see that we have a multiple VPN option. So previous lecture we talked about policy-based VPN. In this particular lab exercise, we are going to talk about how do we configure route-based VPN. So click on route-based VPN, and as you could see that as of now we have not configured any route-based VPN. Now let's log into our vCenter server. Click on show credentials, copy the vCenter server password, click on open vCenter server, and as you could see that this is our vCenter server of VMC SDDC, what we have been following throughout this lab exercise. Now we have a one node cluster, as you could see that, and within that ESXi host we have a compute resource pool where we will be having our workloads, compute workloads. And for route-based VPN, we are going to use VM1 2, because policy-based VPN, we have referred the VM1 as a reference VM. For the route-based VPN, we are going to use VM2. So click on that particular VM, click on Web Console, and let's try to find out the IP address of this virtual machine. And as you could see that the IP address of this virtual machine, which is running on my VMC SDDC, is 192.168.160.3. So that is the subnet what have been defined for my VMC workloads. Now let's log into our on-prem vCenter server. So click on on-prem vCenter server, and as you could see that this is our on-prem vCenter server. This is again two node cluster what we are having it, and on-prem vCenter server we are going to refer a VM called RBVPN VM. So click on this particular VM, click on console, and let's try to look at the IP address of this virtual machine. And as you could see that the IP address of this on-prem virtual machine is 10.100.100.101. So now let's go back to our SDDC VM and let's try to ping this particular IP or my on-prem VM. So will that ping will go? The answer is no. The reason why, because we have not established the IPsec tunnel between my VMC SDDC and the on-prem data center. That's the reason traffic is not running. So now let's go back to our SDDC. Let's go and create a RBVPN, route-based VPN session. So I'm going to give a name as RBVPN session. Now we need to have a local endpoint, remote endpoint. So local endpoint is going to be one of my public IP. Remote endpoint is going to be your on-prem data center public endpoint. So that is the IP address was 66.170.99.12. Now here, if you really see that we are not defining subnet pairs, what we have done it in the policy-based configuration, right? Policy-based VPN configuration, we need to define what is your local networks and what is your remote networks, and that is where the IPsec tunnel gets established. Here, what we talked about it in the route-based VPN, will leverage BGP routing, right? And the dynamic IPsec tunnel gets established between two endpoints, your on-prem and VMC SDDC, and that is exactly what we are going to define it here is your BGP link local IPs. So where the BGP routing will be happening or the route exchange will happen. So we're gonna go and configure the link local IP 169.254.118.1/30. So this is what we say that it's a BGP link local IP, or the VTI interface is where the route routing will happen, right? BGP routing will be happening. And now here you have to define the remote link local IP. So it's going to be same subnet 169.254.118.2, as you could see that, right? So now what we are defining it here, again I want to emphasize more on that. As you could see that we are not defining any local networks, remote networks, or we are not defining any subnet pairs. We just have defined the BGP link local IPs on my local endpoint and the remote endpoint, so that I can establish the dynamic IPsec tunnel, right? And that is where we can have a BGP routing enabled. And here we have to define the ASN number of my on-prem data center. So that is the BSN number of my on-prem data centers. And here you have to just define the private IP. Now here you have to define the key pair value. So VMware at the rate of 123. And as you could see that it's as simple as that to provide your remote endpoint, your local endpoint, as well as your BGP link local IPs on the remote endpoint and the local endpoint, and the ASN number of the on-prem data centers. Click on save, click on OK, and as you could see that we have successfully created RBVPN session. Click here to refresh, and as you could see that this is my BGP remote IP, and the reachability is there because the green dot is showing us that everything is in working state and everything is successfully configured. Now click here to scroll down, and most importantly, as you could see that my tunnel status is up. Now this is what we have to make sure that before you start initiating the traffic, you have to make sure that your tunnel status is up, and that's what we have validated that. Now let's go and try to generate a ping, because we have made sure that the tunnel status is up. Ideally the ping should get through, but it will not, right? And now you can guess that the reason why, even if my tunnel status is up, even I have configured route-based VPN successfully, still the traffic is not going through. And if you have checked out our previous lecture about policy-based VPN, we know that there's a one more configuration we need to do it, and that is your gateway firewall. So we need to go to the gateway firewall, and we need to have a right firewall rule to be configured to allow this traffic. So go to gateway firewall, click on add rule, and I would say that allow RBVPN traffic. And now I'm going to apply this particular rule set to not all the uplinks, but I will be applying it on the VTI interface, the VPN tunnel interface. And now as you could see that is the rule what we are going to create it. We are saying that any source is trying to reach out to any destination over my VPN tunnel interfaces, which is my VTI interfaces. I want this traffic to be allowed. So now let's go back to a virtual machine, and now you will see that the traffic will start flowing. And that is what, as you could see that as when we configured the right firewall rule, we do see that the ping started working, right? And now let's log into our on-prem VM as well. And from the on-prem VM, let's try to ping our VMC workload 192.168.160.3, and you will see that the ping is working. So now we have validated the bidirectional network connectivity between our VMC workload and the on-prem workload. So thank you for watching this video. If you want to continue watch this lecture, then join our exclusive YouTube membership program only at the price of 299 rupees INR per month, and unlock your VMware potential with GoVMlab. With this membership program, you can unlock all of our members only content published on our YouTube channel. You can watch out the videos presented on your screen to know the benefits of GoVMlab subscription as well as the membership program. Thank you. Now this conclude our lecture about how do we configure route-based VPN in VMC SDDC, and we have seen that the route-based VPN is the most recommended approach to configure hybrid cloud connectivity in modern data centers because of its BGP dynamic routing capabilities, and it also provides scalability and high availability. And the most important thing is that we do not need to define the subnet pairs at all. We just need to define the BGP link local IPs on the remote endpoint and the local endpoint to establish the dynamic IPsec tunnel. Thank you.